we're going to talk about note values today. And note value, that's all it is that how long a note is supposed to last in any piece of music. In this case, we're talking about, take a look at this awesome graph here. Looks like the viral spread. Not funny. Okay, whole note split into two half notes, split into two quarter note, two eighth note, and then two 16th notes. So that's how they're divided, 50%, 50%, 50%, although that sounds very mathematical. The note value does not have any meaning until it is put into the context of tempo. Tempo is how fast or slow the pulse is. It's entirely possible there's going to be no pulse at all, no pulse that is audible. It's always organized in these note values, but the musician, especially classical musicians, it's not necessarily a great thing that they're playing on the grid of the beats. They often take great liberty in interpreting the music above, kind of acknowledging there's a grid, that everything is indeed organized on a grid of the pulse, but they're above it. They're sort of floating above it. So I'm going to just kind of play a bunch of chords. It's nice and pleasant, and you tell me. See if it sounds slow or fast to you, and take a educated guess. If you see this on sheet music somewhere, will this be how fast you play it? Okay, here it goes. And what note value? Take an educated guess. Look at the awesome chart. Educated guess. What do you think? One more time. And this time, I'm going to play it slightly different emotion. I could actually exaggerate that even more. So if, let's say, there is an energy here that kind of, it gets resolved. Keep in mind, this is the kind of music that falls exactly on the grid. It does not get more grid than this. Everything is notated in the exact same note value. Okay, one more time. Let's hear it. But this time, the emotion, the energy is going to be intensified a little bit. Versus same note value, exactly the same. All right. So, what do you think? What do you think this is notated in? Well, this doesn't really matter that much because without a tempo marking, this is entirely up for interpretation. The only definition that a musician could rely on a almost mathematical reliability is a metronome marking. So now I'm going to play the same chords and I'm going to turn the metronome on. And then I'd like you to guess what is the note value that you just heard. This is, it's a pretty random. It's 108 beats per minute. All right. I can keep going. I went off the score a little bit, but so let's stop this. Yeah. So as you can tell, without a context, musical note values don't really have any meaning. And to answer my own question, which I hope you have a little thought, and it doesn't matter whether it's correct or not. This is all in half notes. This is all notated in half notes. Okay, so let's move on, and I'm going to play another piece in the same key, and this is how conventionally most pianists, most musicians, most keyboardist would play this piece. And I want you to imagine what the sheet music look like, whether the density of it, because think about it. Think about how it sounds like. Does it sound very sparing? Like there are fewer notes in every space? Is there fewer notes, or is it very, very, very busy? Like lots of 16th notes, lots of darkness, lots of beams drawn all over the page. So think about that, and think about the visual representation of what you're hearing. Are you going to guess that this is gonna look very sparingly, or is it going to be very much like I'm at loss for words, but let's take a listen. All right. Okay, so on and so forth. What do you think? So this is kind of like, every note kind of means it's very low, and it's very honest, and it kind of takes up a lot of space in your auditory world. Let's see. Well, now you can see that it really it looks so busy. It looks like all these 16th notes, they're supposed to be super fast, right? It looks like it's supposed to be like. But that's not what the music's message is. Then it wouldn't make sense to. It's simply not the music. The emotions just isn't quite right. So what speaks to me and most musicians, which this is not a coincidence that most musicians in the world, I mean, we're talking about millions and trillions of musicians who have played this piece. They see and hear the music. They know, although without a metronome marking, see there's no metronome marking. Without a metronome marking, this still sounds like it should be a slow piece of music. And how slow? If we're going to clap the quarter note, it'll sound like pretty much like this. That's a quarter note, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, 3, 4. Something like this. So it really does not have to be, lots of 16th notes, that means it's fast. Yeah, we're gonna have another example coming up. Here we go. And this pretty energetic. So this is what it looks like. It's like every quarter note is this fast. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Every downbeat, every grid that you hear is an entire measure. So, okay, let's pause the video for a minute and let's have a moment with a really interesting film episode about a metronome. And it's very important for the fundamentals of musicianship that you always practice, always, at the beginning with a metronome. That's the rule. The grid is the rule. Once you learn the rule, that's when you get to fly above the rule. And the rule is that precision of every beat that is reliable and you can count on. Everybody else can count on too. We all have to agree what a quarter note equals 60 sounds like.